I want you to sit with me for a minute because what happened to me this week, I still cannot believe it happened, and I am 78 years old, so believe me, I have seen a lot of things in my life. My name is Adele Marsh, and for the last 3 years, I have been living in the small blue house on Cedar Lane that belonged to my late husband and me for over 40 years. When my husband passed, my son Gregory and his wife Tara came to me with tears in their eyes and told me I should not be alone in a big house, that I should move in with them instead, that family takes care of family. I believed them. I sold most of my furniture, I gave away my husband's tools, and I moved into the small room at the back of their house, right next to the laundry room, the room that used to be storage before I came. I did not complain. Not once. I helped with everything. I picked up my granddaughter Sophie from school every single day. I cooked dinner most nights because Tara said she was too tired from work. I paid for groceries out of my own pension more times than I can count, because Gregory said money was tight, and what mother does not want to help her son when he says money is tight? But something changed about 8 months ago. Tara started acting different around me. Small things at first. She would sigh loudly when I walked into the kitchen. She would tell Sophie to go play in her room whenever I tried to sit with her and talk. She started locking her bedroom door even during the day, which she never used to do. I told myself I was imagining things. I told myself that maybe she was just stressed from work, and that this too would pass, the way most storms pass if you are patient enough. I was wrong. This past Sunday, like every Sunday for the last 15 years, I got up early, put on my good blue dress, the one with the small white collar, and I walked the 6 blocks to St. Andrew's for the morning service. I have gone to that same church since before Gregory was born. The people there know me. Pastor Riley always saves me a seat near the 3rd pew because my knees do not like standing for too long anymore. The service ran a little longer that day because there was a baptism, and I stayed afterward to have coffee with my friend Margaret, who I have known since we were both young mothers pushing strollers down the same street. We talked for almost an hour. I did not rush, because why would I rush? I thought I was going home to the same house I always went home to. When I got back to Cedar Lane, my key would not turn in the lock. At first I thought maybe I was just tired, maybe my hand was shaking a little, so I tried again. Nothing. I tried the back door too, the one by the kitchen that we never really locked because the latch was old and loose. That door would not open either. I stood there on my own porch, in my Sunday dress, holding a purse with nothing but a church bulletin and $40 inside, and I realized what had happened. The locks had been changed. I knocked. Nobody answered, even though I could hear the television on inside. I could hear Sophie's cartoons playing loud enough to reach the porch. I knocked again, harder this time, and finally Tara opened the door, just a few inches, with the chain still latched. She looked at me the way you look at someone selling something you do not want at your door. Not cruel exactly, just cold, distant, like I was an inconvenience standing between her and the rest of her afternoon. She said, "Adele, we need to talk, but not right now. Gregory and I have decided it is best if you find somewhere else to stay for a while. This has not been working out." I asked her what she meant by that. I asked her where Gregory was, because surely my own son would not do this to me without at least telling me himself. She said Gregory was at work and that he agreed with her decision, that they had discussed it and felt it was time for a change. That maybe I would be more comfortable somewhere with people my own age. I stood on that porch for almost 20 minutes. She did not invite me in. She did not offer me a chair. She simply closed the door, and I heard the deadbolt turn from the inside. I want you to understand something about me. I did not scream. I did not cry on that porch, even though everything inside me wanted to. I have lived long enough to know that when someone shows you exactly who they are, the worst thing you can do is give them the satisfaction of watching you fall apart in front of them. So I sat down on the porch step in my good blue dress, and I waited. Around 6 in the evening, Gregory's car pulled into the driveway. He got out slowly, and when he saw me sitting there, his face went pale. He rushed over and asked what happened, why was I sitting outside, and I told him plainly that his wife had changed the locks while I was at church and told me I no longer lived there. He looked stunned. He said he had no idea, that he had not agreed to anything like this, that this was Tara's decision entirely and she had done it behind his back while he was at work. I do not know to this day if that was completely true, but I could see in his eyes that whatever was happening in that house, it was bigger than one locked door. He let me inside using his own key, and the moment we stepped through, Tara was standing in the hallway with her arms crossed, already prepared for an argument. Gregory asked her directly why she had done this without even discussing it with him, and she said something I will never forget as long as I live. She said, "I did what needed to be done. She has been in our space for 3 years, taking up a room we need for the new baby, and somebody needed to make the decision because you never do." That was when I found out. Tara was pregnant. 4 months along. And instead of telling me, instead of sitting down like family and discussing what would happen next, she decided the easiest solution was to lock her 78-year-old mother-in-law out of the house while she was at church. I did not raise my voice. I simply asked her one question. I asked her if she had thought, even for a moment, about what would have happened to me if Gregory had come home late that night, or if I had nowhere else to go. She did not answer that question. Not directly. She just said that family situations get complicated and that she was doing what was best for her own child. Here is the thing Tara forgot. She forgot that the house on Cedar Lane, the one they had been living in for the past year while renting it from us at a very reduced price because Gregory said they needed help getting on their feet, that house was never actually theirs. It was still in my name and my late husband's name. Gregory had never finished the paperwork to transfer it over, because he kept putting it off, and thank God he did, because that piece of paper was still sitting in my lockbox at the bank the entire time. I did not bring this up that night. I let Gregory and Tara argue in the kitchen while I sat quietly in the living room with Sophie, who had come out of her room looking confused and a little scared by all the shouting. I held her hand and told her everything was going to be all right, because that is what grandmothers do, even when their own hearts are breaking. The next morning, I went to the bank. I spoke with the property manager who had been helping us with the paperwork on Cedar Lane, and I asked him what my legal options were, given that I was still the primary owner of the home Gregory and Tara were currently living in, and that I myself no longer had a place to sleep the night before because I had been locked out of my own family's house. He explained everything clearly. Because the transfer of ownership had never been completed, I still had every legal right to the property. I could, if I chose to, ask them to leave. I could sell the house. I could do whatever I wanted, because on paper, it was still mine. I want to be honest with you. For about 2 days, I considered doing exactly that. I considered walking back into that house and telling Tara that since she was so eager to decide who belongs where, she could pack her own things and find somewhere else to live, with a baby on the way and nowhere secure to land. I thought about it seriously. I even drafted the words in my head, imagined the look on her face. But then I thought about Sophie. I thought about that little girl holding my hand the night before, scared by the yelling, confused about why her grandmother was suddenly a stranger in her own home. I thought about the baby that had not even been born yet, who did not choose any of this, who did not deserve to start life caught in the middle of a war between the women in his family. So instead, I did something different. I called Gregory and asked him to come to the bank with me, alone, without Tara. When he arrived, I showed him the paperwork. I told him plainly that I was still the legal owner of the house he was living in, and that after what happened, I had every right to change my own plans. I watched his face go through fear, then guilt, then something that looked almost like shame. I told him I was not going to take the house from him. I was not going to punish Sophie or the new baby for what Tara had done. But I told him this arrangement could not continue the way it had been. I was not going to live under a roof where I could be locked out on a Sunday like an unwanted guest. I told him I would be moving into a small apartment near the church, one I had actually looked at over a year ago but never pursued because I did not want to leave Sophie. I told him I would still help with my granddaughter whenever they needed me, but I would no longer be living in that back room, and I would no longer be handing over grocery money every week while being treated like a burden in my own family. Gregory tried to apologize. He said he never wanted any of this, that he had been caught in the middle for months, afraid to upset either me or his wife. I told him that being caught in the middle is still a choice, and that silence when your mother is being mistreated is its own kind of decision. I moved into my apartment 2 weeks later. It is small, but it is mine. Nobody can change the locks on me without my permission, because I am the only one who holds the keys. Tara reached out about a month after everything happened. She did not apologize in the way I think she should have, but she said she wanted Sophie to still see me regularly, and that the baby, when he arrived, should know his grandmother too. I told her I would always be there for the children, because none of this was ever their fault. As for the house, I did eventually sign the paperwork transferring it fully to Gregory, but not without adding my own condition first. I made sure that no matter what happens in that marriage, no matter what arguments come and go, Sophie and her baby brother will always have a stable roof over their heads, because that home will never again be used as a weapon against anyone in this family, especially not against someone like me, who gave up her own house to help raise them in the first place. I forgave Tara, not because what she did was acceptable, but because holding on to that kind of anger at 78 years old is a heavier weight than I am willing to carry for whatever time I have left. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It means I choose peace over bitterness, but it also means I will never again make myself so small in someone else's home that they forget I am still a person who deserves respect. I still go to St. Andrew's every Sunday. I still stay for coffee with Margaret afterward. But now, when I walk home, I walk to a door that only opens with my own key, in my own name, and nobody, not even someone I love, gets to decide when I no longer belong somewhere. If you are watching this and you have an elderly parent living with you, please, talk to them before you make decisions that affect their whole life. And if you are like me, someone who gave everything to your family and still ended up feeling like a stranger in your own home, I hope my story reminds you that it is never too late to reclaim your peace. Now tell me, where are you watching this from? Comment your city below. I would love to see how far this story has traveled. And if you love your grandma, if she has ever sacrificed something for you the way I sacrificed for my family, then like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today.